All right, guys, so we got some big breaking news that will not be treated as such. Hear me now, quote me later, because that is solid as a rock right there. So the DNC has confirmed that they will not accept New Hampshire's delegates as the New Hampshire Democratic Party continues to move forward with their first-in-the-nation primary. So, in other words, here, let me break this down, what happened here. New Hampshire has it in their own laws, in their state constitution, that they are the first-in-the-nation primary, okay? So they don't have any wiggle room to say, like, we'll change that. They can't. It's in their state laws. I don't think they want to, but even if they wanted to, there's a whole process to change that. And I believe Republicans hold most seats, and the Republicans wouldn't change it for the Democrats, etc. So they're going to move forward with their primary, of course. Well, the DNC decided, no, we have a new schedule. We're putting South Carolina first. Now, why did they put South Carolina first? They say, oh, because we care about diversity. That's why. The reality is they wanted to put South Carolina first to stack the deck in favor of Biden, because Biden did really well in South Carolina last time. They want to get him off to a good start to make it look like he's inevitable, so on and so forth. And so the DNC is saying, South Carolina's first. South Carolina's first. New Hampshire's like, that's not true. We've always had the first one, and it's in our state constitution, so we're going to do our primary. Well, now the DNC is coming out and saying, okay, then your election doesn't count. Okay, then every vote from every Democratic person there doesn't count. None of it counts. They continued to criticize the primary. This is the DNC criticizing it, calling it, quote, meaningless, and saying that presidential candidates should take all steps possible not to participate. So in other words, Biden, in order to succeed in New Hampshire now, would need to be a write-in candidate. Well, it's harder to do well as a write-in candidate, right? So they're trying to say, if Dean Phillips or Marianne Williamson or Cenk Uygur pulls off a W there, we are literally not counting it with the delegate. It doesn't count. So they are disenfranchising an entire state of Democratic voters. It is going full authoritarian, as they will continue to make the argument in the general, oh my God, Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Well, remember when you literally canceled an entire election and said none of those votes matter? Remember that? Florida, very similar thing. They called off the Democratic primary. Like, we're just not going to have one. Why? They changed the registration date a month earlier and didn't tell anybody. And then when Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson and Cenk Uygur went to go sign up, they were like, oh no, I'm sorry, that date already passed. What? No, we're in front of the deadline. Oh yeah, but we changed the deadline and it didn't tell you. What? So as of right now, as I'm talking to you, I believe there's 4 states, Massachusetts, Tennessee, Florida, and North Carolina, I believe, that have just called off any Democratic primary election. I don't understand how this is not totally unconstitutional, totally illegal, not allowed. Or is it just allowed for party structures to go full authoritarian and not have a Democratic vote? If that's allowed, then let's stop pretending we have anything remotely similar to a democracy. As Dean Phillips pointed out, and he's right about it, this is like the Ayatollahs in Iran limiting your choices and then saying, oh no, you're totally free to pick from among those choices. This is very similar. Party structures here are acting in a very, very similar way. They're literally saying, even though New Hampshire is going to have an election, going to have votes, we're just going to unilaterally declare it doesn't count. Why is this not one of the biggest stories in the country right now? Now, by the way, to be fair, there are some print outlets that did, like Politico wrote something up on this, and some others wrote something up on this, but this should be a gigantic story. Guys, let's call a spade here. If Donald Trump told the RNC, you're canceling all of these primaries, and you're just selecting me, or we're going to rule out, hey, in the state where I'm doing the worst, we're just not going to count any of the votes from that state. We're not going to award any delegates. What would the media say? They would correctly and accurately say, look, this is part and parcel of this authoritarian menace who doesn't believe in democracy, doesn't believe in our institutions. Look at what he's doing. He's running amok. He has the dictator's impulse. He's a tyrant. That would be correct to say that. But Biden's doing it? Mum's the word. Mum's the word. Just canceling an entire primary. Like, I'm at a point where I literally don't even know what to say. Because we've always known they put their thumb on the scale. They attempt to rig things. We've always known that, right? But to see it this out in the open, they're not even trying anymore. And then they're going to have the nerve to turn around in the general and be, you better vote for us. it's going to ring hollow, man. That's going to ring hollow. Add this to the list of the many reasons why people are running 1,000 miles away from Biden and the Democrats. I mean, it's just, I wish they weren't doing this, but they are doing this. Add it to the list. We had Muslim and Arab Americans over 60% support for Biden and the Democrats. Now that's below 20%. Now the Democrats are losing Latinos to Trump. They lost a tremendous amount of black support to Trump. They're still winning the number overall, but that's a demographic the Democrats usually get 90, 95% of, right? Now it's like 65 or something in that realm. Young people fleeing. You think this is going to make things better? I mean, this is embarrassing. This is absolutely embarrassing, and it is deeply, deeply authoritarian. And to not set up a fair, reasonable process and just have an election, that says a lot. Because the fact of the matter is, look, if you face reality, it's very likely Biden wins, even if the process is totally fair and open and all that. Because he's got so many things working in his favor, the momentum of incumbency, a sympathetic media, the party establishment that's with him, etc. But like, they're not even having a fair process. So what does that tell you? It's almost like they know deep down, we are so weak that we're going to pull out moves like this. It should be one of the biggest stories in the country, man. Should be one of the biggest stories in the country that they're doing this. Marianne Williamson, Dean Phillips, Cenk Uygur, they deserve to have their day at the ballot box. People have a right, if they want to pick them, right? The DNC disagrees. They disagree. They disagree strongly. The Democratic Party has canceled 4 primaries, and they're just saying New Hampshire doesn't count. So I think this gives off a sign to me. The sign is we are totally disconnected from reality and don't realize how much we're pissing people off. That's what this sign tells me from the DNC. This like raw power play, this thug gangster-like move, that's what that tells me. And that does not bode well for the future of the country or the future of the Democratic Party, because it's this incredible insecurity and weakness meshed together with a massive sense of entitlement. And I think that turns off a lot of people. The fact of the matter is, if you're up against somebody like Trump, you should be up by like 20 points. And Biden is down in the average of polls. And stuff like this is only going to make it worse, right? Just have the election. If you lose a couple states, it is what it is. But instead, they're just canceling a bunch of the elections and saying New Hampshire doesn't count. Well, I wonder how New Hampshire voters are going to feel about that in the general election, right? I wonder how Democratic voters in states where their primary was canceled are going to feel about that in the general election. That probably drives down turnout for a general election. You could have gotten more, now you're going to get fewer because they're like, you fucking took away my choice in the primary. Fuck off. So it doesn't get any worse than this, man. This is grotesque and disgusting. Biden hasn't said a word about it. He's not going to say a word about it because he supports it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.